Buddy. I'm gonna I'm gonna hook up my mic soon. I'm just having a bite to eat first. Letting everybody, get in and whatnot and get themselves situated. We are back from outer fucking space. So, question, anybody have any problem chatting last one? I had one of my tribe come forward and say they couldn't chat in the chat. The chat thing was there, but they couldn't chat for some dumb stuff. So, not only are they throttling my live, but yeah. But now they're preventing people from actually chatting. YouTube, you keep this shit up, I'm gonna leave, and you can shut your fucking channel down. Your whole fucking website gonna go down if you keep this up. Want to throttle me? You want to keep me from displaying my message? Keep it up. I'm not out here hurting anybody. I'm out here trying to get people to think. But clearly that's not what you want, right? You want people to just watch people like they're fucking peeping toms, and you'll open up their fucking channel, right? You'll allow like 200-300 people to watch people sleep, which is fucking psychotic. But somehow I come on here talking about truth, and apparently I get throttled at 6 fucking people. Make it make sense. Hey Emma, try to chat. Like, I'm out here trying to better the world, right? But I bet if I did a sleeping cam, I'd have well over 300-400 people, because I'm laying here in my underwear, right? How fucking disgusting would that be? Cool. So, collective, I got a question for you. Did the Titanic actually get sunk by an iceberg? Oh, now you can chat? That's cool. Yeah, Tarot Doc just said, expect a message. Yeah? They can shove their fucking message up their ass. Not Tarot Doc, but whoever's gonna send that message. I don't want to hear it. Because I know it's coming from the stupid karmics. Or probably my karmic family. I'll have to watch it. But anyway. I got another question for you. When was the United States of America bought out by the billionaires? And when did it stop becoming a country? And when did it become a corporation? And how do you feel that that pertains to your rights and freedoms? I got another question for you. Who came up with the term order out of chaos? These are actual questions I want answers for. I know the answers. And if it wasn't an iceberg, what took out the Titanic? Medieval tower near the Roman Colosseum partially collapses. Oh, interesting. The plot does thicken. Holy shit, a whole 7 full in my chat. Wild. You know what? YouTube should be called MeTube. Because it kind of feels like I'm talking to myself. Then again, I guess it goes, YouTube is YouTube because all you're talking to is yourself. Thanks, YouTube. 8 people. We're moving on up in the world. You don't think the Titanic sank at all? Really? Do you think that they might have just, took it out past the ice wall and said, fuck it? What's your theory on that? You want to know why everybody hates Russia? Because at this point, it is literally the only country that has done its due diligence at ridding the Rockefellers and the billionaire buffoons out of its control. This is why they hate Russia. Funny thing is, I had a dream the other night. Oh, we're up to 8 people. I had a dream last night that I met Putin and I helped him with some sort of a construction thing. And he was actually quite pleased with my work. He thought of me very highly for the work that I've done. So I wonder if I was actually astral projecting and I went to Russia. I thought it was oddly satisfying. You know, to some degree, I've listened to a lot of what he said, even though it was translated. Right? Because I don't speak Russian. He stands strong. He's a fighter. He's not one to be messed with. He demands. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him one bit. As a man and as a leader, I do respect him. I do respect him because you know what? I think he means well. He doesn't deal with drama all that well, though. And the rest of the nations are pretty good at creating drama. So I can understand why people don't like him. Ultimately. Now, this doesn't mean I agree with absolutely everything he says, but for the most part, I think he's got the right idea, though. Cutting out the New World Order cronies. He's definitely not for the New World Order. He wants absolutely nothing to do with the New World Order. And if that's the case, I support that. Because I don't want no stupid New World Order either. They got the wrong idea. Alright. Now that the mic is hooked up, is that better? Now? the dragons are holding on to the mic. They're my mic stand. So, from all this inner healing that I've done, from all the abuse that I've had to deal with, I've kind of tried to figure out why it's all happening, why it happened to begin with. And I come to realize that it all comes back to frequency, collective. And like does not necessarily attract like. All right? As much as we'd like to think so, it doesn't. Because before I was born, I wasn't abusing anyone, right? Mind you, I was abused before I was even out of diapers. And it really got me thinking that I think the trauma and the abuse is hereditary. And then I got to thinking, maybe it's not necessarily hereditary, but they're trying to make it look hereditary. Oh, Jerry, do me a favor, stop projecting in my chat. Clearly you're a homo. Clearly. And the whole thing is, between the difference between you and I'm okay with my sexuality. I'm totally secure in my sexuality where you're not. And that's sad for you. That's extremely sad for you. You smell like a narcissist, too. Aw, did I hurt your feelings? Aw, did I hurt your feelings? Oh, poor baby. How's it feel? How's it feel? You thought I was just going to be a pushover? You're just going to be able to do that? You thought you're going to get away with it? Funny. You're more of a faggot than I am. Get it right. Oh, I made him so mad. I know I made him so mad. He's infuriated right now. I wouldn't be surprised if he threw and broke his phone. I wouldn't be surprised. Fucking dumbass. Showing up to a silly hat party without a hat. So, as I was saying, with all this healing that I've done, And looking back at this whole aspect of healing myself, empowering myself, rising above the trauma, rising above the abuse, rising above the constant relentless sabotage, you know, trying to make sense of it all, where it all come from, why it's there. And to think that it's like partially my karmic family and the people that they choose to bring into their life. It's like it is something to do with hereditary lineage because of the World War One, World War Two, the Gulf War, and prior to that. You know, anything to create chaos for the useless eaters that we are, right? That we can't rise above it, make better of it. I find it rather odd, though, that most of the people calling us useless eaters are pedophiles, right? Most of the people, and apparently Canada just made pedophilia and all that shit pretty much legal, right? All because a 17-year-old wanted to share some nudes with his girlfriend. Which, you know what? If two people are in love, okay, and they want to share some pictures with each other, they should be able to do it. And providing that it is a 16 and a 17, they'll be able to do that on their own time, right? If that's what they want to do, as long as it's with them, then whatever. Do what you're going to do. You be you. But when it comes to a 4-year-old, let's say, and they've got pictures of a young, too fucking young, no pubic hair, that's a totally different story, right? As far as I'm concerned, morally speaking, you know. And for like eons and decades, back in the old days, children were getting married a lot younger than what they are now. They were sexual a lot younger than what they are now. And somehow the world has gotten some sort of a morality about, you know, kids apparently growing up and, you know, having to wait until they're of a particular age in order to have sex, which morally I agree with. Okay? But with the ability to have children, as soon as a man and a woman, adolescent, hit puberty, they are typically able to have children. Right? And that's usually between 11 and 14 years old. That's just scientifically proven. That's just the way it is. That's puberty. The ability to understand love and compassion, it comes in roughly about 5 to 6 to 7 years old. So, the fact that there's a lot of children being abused is disgusting. Okay? But a harmless little crush on someone of the same age, it's harmless. It really is harmless. Okay? I think it's cute. I think it's innocent. I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to have love for another human being and to be able to show and share that love with them. I think it's beautiful. I don't give a fuck what kind of age you are. But providing that it's within the age bracket, I would say between 5 years, I would say, I think it's legitimately innocent. Morally innocent. providing it is sitting with good intention and there's no manipulation, there's no abuse, or whatever else the case. I think it's morally. But when it comes to an older woman or an older man lusting over a child, that's where no, that's where it becomes disgusting. And the fact that there are certain people out there that are getting caught with child porn, I think it's absolutely disgusting. They really need to give their fucking heads a shake and maybe bashed up against a brick wall a couple times to really let it set in. And considering the bullshit with the island, and considering that there's a lot of elite and celebrities being caught up with all that shit, is even more disgusting. And then this whole bullshit about adrenochrome. The whole basis of adrenochrome creating fear and terror and feeding off of that. And to think this has been going on for decades and all to be in this whole aspect of keeping youth, keeping your youth, but it's the breaking of the innocence. I think it's absolutely disgusting. And anybody that partakes in that should be ashamed of themselves. I do believe that it is a sickness. And I believe that that's why a lot of the people that are in Hollywood have disappeared and have fallen off. Because when you go and you take a look at what they look like now after Hollywood has fallen, it's like they've aged 3 decades in a year. And it comes back to the whole aspect between light and the darkness, right? It all comes back to the aspect of how the darkness has overrun the earth. And for the population of the world and humanity to have to go through the trauma and the abuse and the deception, the lies, the disgrace, yet somehow we're supposed to live our best life. I don't know. I think there's not a familial line, there's not a hereditary line seen some sort of form of abuse of some sort. And I think this is where they've come up with this whole idea of order out of chaos. By creating chaos, humanity, it brings about some sort of an order to keep them in control. And since the 80s, where the Crystal Children and Indigo Children and the Star Seeds were born, we are the curse breakers. We are the ones that are in the last days to where the enlightenment happens. And I do really feel that we have a precipice of time where we can actually make some huge changes on the earth. And I think with this huge awakening that's happened in the last 5, 6 years about the island and about celebrities and about the different classes of people and the geopolitical aspect of everything, how all these other upper echelon of people thinking that they're better than other people, meanwhile they're parading around and doing this sort of thing in behind the scenes. Think. It really tends to put things into perspective in a way that, and quite frankly, I don't want to be talking about this on my channel. It's going to get me blacklisted even more, considering I've only got 10 people in my chat. I guess it's better than 7, and it's better than 8. Well, yeah, it's all part of that whole thing, Michael. You know, the fact that they were blackmailed to, what, gain control all of a sudden, right? See, I think that's how they try to gain control by developing some sort of shame. But even with that I've experienced in my life, being molested and having to deal with that and having to deal with like outright physical abuse, um, like for minuscule stuff, getting a belt across the back, having broke off my ass, and then growing up and finding out that the same people that were beating me and abusing me were the same people that probably got abused too, you know? And they think that it did us all good, apparently. It towed us in like it tuned us in, so to speak. When all it did is traumatize us, really it did us no good. It pretty well made us hate our parents or hate the people that were doing it to us, right? Trying to put fear into us. Now, in high school, I took a parenting class. And we learned about love, we learned about empathy, we learned about, caring. We learned about integrity, we about morality. We learned about taking care of children. However, molestation was not part of the school curriculum. And most of the sexual education that I received going through school was strictly heterosexual. there was never ever any talk about same sex relationships of any sort. It was always looked at as taboo. And growing up, I did have girlfriends, and it didn't ever really. I don't know. I was rather neutral in the whole spiel. But as I was growing up, I recognized that a lot of women, and I'm not saying all women do this, but there's a lot of women out there that baby trap their boyfriends or their husbands. And it kind of steered me away from the whole idea of having a relationship with a woman. It made me not able to trust women for that particular reason. And I do believe, looking back in hindsight, I do believe my mother was one of them, because of how she portrayed my father and how she chose to, you know, negatively talk about him. And yeah, you know what? Everybody. But the fact that he stood his ground, the fact that he stood up for himself, the fact that he wasn't willing to, uh, do what he was doing, and like, he never abused me. That's one thing. My father never abused me. I don't believe he ever spanked me either. He wasn't necessarily the most compassionate man growing up. He was rather strict, but he never had to hit me. Not once, I don't think I ever had his hand on my ass at all for doing something bad. If anything, he told me to go stand in the corner and think about what I did. But to begin with, I wasn't all that bad of a kid to start with. Yet my mother broke spoons off my ass, belted me across my back. The men she chose to bring into her life abused me physically, mentally, emotionally. It brought me back to a particular situation where even a couple neighbors, they sexually abused me. I didn't even know what was happening at the time. I couldn't make sense of it because at that point I hadn't had a relationship. I had an overwhelming feeling within me though, which brought me back to recalling a lot of my memories that I had blocked out, which brought me back to being molested before I was out of diapers. To try to make sense of what love was after all this shit, trying to make sense of what was all about, what purpose was all about, and try to wrap my head around the whole idea of compassion all over again. because of the situation, I really didn't know where to draw that line particularly. And it was due to the abuse. But no, looking back, I know better, right? Because I began to work within myself and heal myself. But looking back, I didn't know better. But it put me in a place of shame. It put me in a place of ridiculing myself. Not only to submit to it, but to not speak up, to not say something about it. Because I felt so much shame. And I think that's what a lot of people with abuse have to deal with throughout their life. But holding shame for so many years and holding the guilt that wasn't even mine to hold. And this is where a lot comes back to nurturing your inner child. Going back and nurturing your inner child throughout these and sharing your adult perspective with your inner child to help them gain a better understanding. It was probably the most empowering thing I ever did. And to finally release the shame and to finally release the guilt from submitting to that abuse, it's literally a game changer. And a lot of us now as adults, unless we do a memory recall, we don't ever go back there. We never really look at it because it's still tend to hold on to that, which keeps us in that negative vibration due to that shame, due to that sadness, due to that abuse. And I think that's mainly humanity's problem right now. It's humanity's challenge as a whole. And because this is going back like decades upon decades upon decades since time began, I guess, this is where it becomes hereditary. In the now, in this day and age, where people have the ability to be aware, to be enlightened, to be awakened, step into the ability of transmuting that pain into power, to call back our confidence, to call back our inner wisdom. Because now as we are adults, we are more able to look back in hindsight and see where we may have submitted to some sort of abuse and allowed it to happen in our life, not really understanding what it was all about. It was a huge game changer for me when I finally released all that guilt and that shame for holding on to it. That it wasn't even mine to hold on to. I didn't understand it back then. Because I was so loving and I was so compassionate, it was weaponized. Because when I loved with my whole heart. I didn't love because of the abuse. I loved because of just the love that I have within myself. And I think that's partially because it's when I found out I was an empath and where I feel other people's, it became very difficult to not be sensitive to other people's pain, other people's trauma, other people's abuse, because I was abused. I was traumatized. And I think the trauma in itself of being abused creates that sensitivity. So when people are out here saying, oh, I'm an empath, I take a step back and I kind of wonder why they're an empath. How did that come to be? And when I did a past life regression, when I did a lot of my past life recall, there were other lifetimes where I was abused as well. So it wasn't just this lifetime. It's one thing to just do this life and do a recall of this life, but to reach nirvana and access my past lives and to recognize and see all of the other abuse within that in itself, it really hit home. People think that, yeah, hurt people hurt people. No. I'm not out here trying to hurt people, but I'm hurt. I was traumatized. I was abused. But I recognize the morality of it. Being so compassionate, being an empath, having to deal with that abuse myself, and being traumatized, I brought myself to the realization that it's not hurt people hurt people. I don't think that's even a thing anymore. Because there's some people out there that have been abused, but they still to abuse others. But then there are those that have submitted to it and they've chose to abuse other people because they haven't dealt with their trauma. They haven't dealt with their abuse. They haven't dealt with being molested, shall we say. Hold it in themselves as if it's some sort of forbidden treasure, which is disgusting. Do that to yourself. But when somebody is being abused and they come to you for compassion because they're scared, and they put you in a position where they weaponize your compassion against you and they try to abuse you at the same time, all because they were abused, I don't think it's right. Because then you end up taking that shame of theirs. And the people that choose to turn dark and to abuse others because they were abused, it's not right. Like, it's one thing to be on this self discovery and, to be learning about your body at a young age and to wonder how it works and to wonder what it's all about and all that kind of thing. Because you just don't know. You're learning. That is part of the journey of self discovery, of learning about your body, how it works, and why it works the way that it works. That's one thing. But to have the awareness and to outright abuse someone, it compounds the trauma. And I think that's the biggest issue that we're facing right now as humanity. Because they choose not to turn inward. They choose not to make a moral choice. They choose to perpetuate the abuse. So it brings me back to this whole revelation I had. And it really kind of dawned on me because when I first started this channel and I first started doing my tarot, I really didn't understand why Spirit called me to start doing readings. I had not a fucking clue. I didn't realize it was going to turn into what it's turning into. I didn't realize I was going to be out here calling on the karmics and calling for all the bullshit that they did. Because had I known in hindsight about that's what I was going to be here doing, I probably would have said no. I probably would have went against it. Probably chickened out. But after dealing with the sabotage, after dealing with this, and after finding that I wasn't the only one being abused, and after I found out what a narcissist is, after I had to fight for my life from being trapped, covertly trapped, only to find out that it wasn't just my ex, it was my whole family suffering from narcissism. And recognizing as I grew that I had narcissistic traits because of my family. And to recognize that I had a choice. I think the hardest thing that I had to deal with was recognizing my inner light. Because of all of the trauma, the abuse, it had me in the darkness so long that even after being in the dark so long and having to do this and being depressed and this vicious roller coaster ride, I don't know. I don't know. I just had a phone call come in. Hopefully, it's still gonna be fine. My screen's gone black. It's being stupid. It's still black on my screen, but it's okay on my other one. There we go. I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm looking at this micro, okay? If you know that term, looking at self compared to humanity, compared to our solar system to the universe. I'm trying to make sense of it all. I'm trying to make sense of the world. I'm trying to make sense of the chaos. I'm trying to make sense of absolutely everything that's been going on to try to find a solution. I've always been looking for a solution. And it all comes back to frequency. It's the frequency that we accept, and it's the frequency that we hold. They're two totally different frequencies. When we're constantly distracted and we're constantly demoted into this lower vibe frequency of the deception and the lies and all this bullshit, okay? The frequency where we hold within ourselves and the frequency that we somehow perpetuate ourselves to. The situation of what we accept in our life to how we accept ours. I think it has a lot to do with the experience of our life. And with the fact that we're bombarded by red tape and we're basically corralled like sheep, what are we actually willing to accept? What are we actually willing to accept within ourselves and accept within other people? It's one thing to be open minded, but it's another thing to be judgmental. And I guess it comes down to where you draw the line in that. It comes down to where you draw the line of willing what you accept of yourself and creating boundaries and certain moral standards, shall we say, of what we accept in our own life compared to what we accept of others. And I think as humans, we've lost our way. But I ultimately think that this is all stemming back from the terror, the abuse, the trauma from previous experiences, whether hereditary or not. It comes back to the awareness. It comes back to what we know, what we don't know, what we understand, what we fail to understand, and what we understand. And I think at this portion of perspective, this is where our power. This is where we set new standards. This is where we draw that line of what we will accept in our life and will not accept in our life. And this is stemming back to dealing with narcissistic abuse. Before my ex, I didn't know what a narcissist was. I didn't know what it was all about. Had not a clue. But as I started digging, as I started learning, as I started recognizing and understanding things a little better, like I was brought to the point of having no other choice but to look into it. Because I was literally at the brink of death. I was at the point of saying I'm done. I was at the point of just offing myself. And I think Spirit really understood that. This comes back to that little video that I made about telling my story, how I overcome narcissistic abuse and how I rose above it. It's an unfinished project that I didn't feel I was ready to finish because I was still dealing with it. I was still trying to make sense of it. I was inspired to make the video to bring hope to those that felt they were stuck, who couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. To be in my own situation and to be to the point where I felt so worthless. I felt like I was nothing. I felt like anything I did wasn't good enough. And three three years passed, 3 to 4 years have passed since then. And to to recognize how far I've come from that point to now, I don't want to off myself. I didn't want to off myself then, but I felt like I had no other choice. There was no way out. I felt I didn't understand how I was going to get out. I was initially chopping a hole in the ice at the cottage to get water out of the lake, to fill up the basin, to fill up the hot water tank in order to have a shower. Because I figure a hot shower would help me out. It would make me feel better. But at that point, anything I was doing, anything I was trying to create, anything I was working on, it fell at the wayside because it didn't matter. I was useless. I didn't have anything to offer the world. I didn't have any for my ex anymore because anything I had to offer wasn't what they were looking for. They didn't want anything from me. Meanwhile, I initiated this partnership with them on the basis that I would be part of the team, I would be part of the business, I would be part of something. Meanwhile, they didn't want to hire me for that. But anything I was wanting to build or anything I was wanting to grow for myself, I wasn't allowed. I wasn't given the option, given the possibilities to do that. And anything that they agreed on, it was all unfinished. There were multiple different projects that I was working on where they provide, because I didn't, they, I was under, I was dependent on them at that point, right? So I would only work with what they provide. I was unable to provide for myself because I was in a different country. I was not bilingual. And they wouldn't even allow me to change my address over to make it legitimate. So although they offered me where I was living as a home, they wouldn't allow me to make it official. I was always just staying there by the moment. And when I recognized this was part of the control mechanism, it really opened my eyes. Because anything I pour my life into, anything I pour myself into, I always do a very good job at what I do. I always try to do my best to go above and beyond and make it better than it was before. So to recognize my worthlessness at the time, because I could not, like, I always like to finish a project. When I start a project, I like to finish it. And the fact that I had some projects that were not being finished, I wasn't able to complete those projects. It really played on my head. It played on my conscience. It played on my ability to be successful. So when I started cutting the hole in the ice to get water, I said, why bother getting water? And I was having a hard time getting through the ice. It was almost a foot thick. So trying to get through the ice is like, okay, well, I can't even get, it's too fucking cold out here. I can't even get through the ice in order to get water now. Like, to even have a shower. To even do dishes. It literally brought me to my knees. Or if I could just get through the ice and get water, and if I can't even get the water big enough that I can just jump in. Because I wasn't making anything of myself anyway. I felt like a useless tool in the shed. And it's all because I did not have the means at the time to better myself. And I think all part of the orchestration. of the constant failure, of never really amounting to anything. But when I got that ice cleared, and I seen the reflection of the moon in the water, and I could see my face, I could see the reflection of my face. And to come to the realization that it wasn't my face, someone else. I recognized it as a woman. I had not seen who this person was. I didn't recognize them. But they were crying just as much as I was. And I was as curious to know why I'm crying, because I'm as compassionate as I am. All of a sudden, my problems didn't matter. All of a sudden, I was looking at a reflection of a woman in the water that was crying just as much, if not more, than I was. And I literally wiped from my eyes thinking I was seeing things, only to find out that she was still there. So I outright asked her, I said, "What are you crying for?" And it's almost like a voice came over me within my head and said, "You need to be strong." I says, "Yeah, strong for what? Strong for who?" And then she started to apologize. I'm like, "Okay, what are you apologizing for?" She's like, "I created a monster when I... That's very hard on my son." And then it dawned on me. My ex's mother had passed away from cancer 5 or 6 years prior. And that cottage where we were living was technically her cottage. It was her safe haven. It was her oasis. And the fact that she was apologizing to me for the way her son was treating me blew my mind. She also stated that there's a reason for you being here. There's a reason for you going through what you're going through. She also told time was not done yet. She also said that there was a mission for me. There's a reason why I needed to stick up for myself. That I needed to rise above this. And I really didn't understand at the time of what she meant. It really kind of made me think that if his mother had to come back from the dead to tell me that I have a mission here, that there's something else here for me to do, that I need to stick up for myself, I knew there was something more. I knew I had to have hope. Shortly after that, about a week or two after that, I had an extreme. And this nightmare was about a man. This man had a lot of blood on his face, had ratty clothes, and he couldn't speak to me, but the look on his pretty well told me everything. He was yet another victim of what I'd just gone through. Unfortunately, he didn't make it. He didn't survive it. And I do believe that it had something to do with my ex. He haunted me for weeks. It's to the point where I didn't want to sleep anymore. It's almost like he gave me a sign, as like a warning. It got to the point where every time I closed my eyes, I was just drifting off and he would show up in my dream. And all he would do is just stand there. I seen a rope around his neck. He had no shoes on. And it was just as if he was soaking wet. And come to find out, my ex's ex committed suicide. These two experiences confirmed to me that I'm a medium. They confirmed to me that I have a bigger mission here. It also confirmed to me that what I've been going through at that point was only the beginning. That I needed to fight, that I needed to survive, because this wasn't only about me anymore. This was about his mother. This was about his ex. And them finding justice. People wonder why I have so much fight in me. It's because of Anton. And it's because of Jen. And if it wasn't for two ghosts that haunted me, I probably wouldn't have seen the light of day. To see where I've come from, to see how I've evolved, I've turned my pain to power, gives me hope. Not only for myself, but for my collective. When I say I honor for me to be here, now you know to the deepest depths of where that honor's from. To find out that I'm a survivor, that I can live in honor, that I survived, where I very well probably wouldn't have otherwise. The fact that I rose above, the fact that I seen the truth, like how do I put that into into a little video? How can I even begin to do that? How can I even begin to make sense of that, even back then? So when I come on here and I started doing my channel and I started doing these readings and then the messages would be coming out, they did. I didn't anticipate that I'd be calling out karmics. Back in hindsight, I do know now. Looking back in hindsight, seeing how far I've come, despite the sabotage, despite the constant abuse, the relentlessness of all the bullshit that I've had to deal with, and to rise above that, the humiliation rituals, the constant ridicule, and then to put that into perspective after meeting my ex, going through with what I went through with my ex, having that experience with his mother and his ex that both lost their life. I recognized where the cancer come from, where she passed away. The cancer hit her like a brick. Within a 2-year period, she was gone. When Anton committed suicide, I called on him. He showed me in his dream why suicide. And it was due to my ex. And the biggest thing that I got from the telepathy, do not end up like me. Do not become another casualty. Anton was estranged from his parents. Were not happy with the fact that he chose the other side of the fence. And Anton had a lot of shame because of his walking away from him, which left him helpless. Not only did he feel because of my ex, but he felt worthless because of his parents, shaming him. And then it brought me back to the perspective with my mother. My mother disowned me after she found out she wasn't getting grandchildren. But I had already seen how she was with my nephews regarding my sister, and I vowed she would never get grandchildren because I never wanted to go through what my sister went through. So I made a point that I would not have children out of spite because of the. And after I opened up to my mother about me being open to being in a relationship with someone other than a woman, she disowned me. She didn't talk to me for like 5 or 6 years. I was petrified to have children. So, was it a choice? I don't really even know. But I know I didn't want to be ridicule of that. I would have sooner not had children than have children and risk it. Because to hell if my children were going to be abused like I was abused. And with the way the current state of the world is, it had nothing to do with it. Would I make a good dad? Would I make a good father? Fucking right I would. But I know they would hold it over my head. And I know that they would bring absolute nightmare into my life if I did. They did to my sister. I learned a lot from my sister. I learned a lot about what not to do. I learned a lot about who I want to become. And I'm not saying anything negative about my sister. She just had a very difficult upbringing. Because we both were abused in different ways. So, to bring this back from micro to macro, this is ultimately why I have my channel, to help empower you to rise version of yourself by going within and nurturing your inner child, your inner adolescent, your inner teenager. In how we live, we learn, we evolve. But if we choose to hold on to the pain and the guilt and the sadness and the pain, and we don't do anything with it, that is where we fail as an. And this is why I'm adamant about empowering yourself. To bring about the change that you want to see in your world. It's not about the world around you, your world. And when I come back to say that if we do that individually, we can ultimately heal the world. Because our inner world reflects our outer world. And I know because since I've been healing, I'm making different choices. Since I'm empowering myself, I'm creating different boundaries. And it's because of how I've evolved within myself that has brought about the change of my outer world. I'm a lot more at peace than I ever was. I'm a lot more stronger than I ever was in my life. And to think these karmic pieces of shit relentlessly keep at me, thinking that they're going to shake me, thinking that they're going to take me out, thinking that they're going to make me off myself, thinking that they're going to make me feel worthless and diminished. Even after all this time, even that I just about died in my car, I do believe I had a near-death experience in my car. And I do believe I met Jesus at that time. And I do believe I was anointed at that time. I've always had my intuition. I've always had my gifts. My dreams have been very vividly prophetic ever since I was very young. But I must say, after my near death experience, they only got stronger. And this is why I find my strength so prevailing, because despite what they try to do, to try to diminish me, all these experiences have done has helped me to evolve into a stronger version of myself. They are traumatic, and they say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. No, it doesn't. It doesn't make you stronger. Traumas are traumas. Abuse is abuse. In its own essence, it is what it is. But it's how you alchemize it. It's what you do to empower yourself to rise above it. That's the trauma itself does not make you stronger. It's the inner light that brings awareness. That's what makes you stronger. And in a world full of darkness, despite the fact that the sun still shines, in a world of darkness, riddled by evil, recognizing your own inner light is paramount to your survival. It is you that lights the way. It is that inner sacred light that gives you life, that lights the way. That light at the end, that is your inner light, reflecting back. Off the mirror of darkness. To embrace your shadow is to recognize your light and its power. To recognize that you have a choice whether or not you can stay light or go dark, but you choose light anyway, is paramount to your power. Distracted looking outside of yourself for the answers when you've always had the answers within you. Within your mind, within your heart, as above, so below. Within your spirit, as within, to your outer reality, as without. To have these in balance and to recognize your true essence of who you are within your soul, this is where you become the creator of your reality. Recognizing that within you, you have a temple. And how you perceive that temple is crucial to your enlightenment. If you ever wanted to know where my name comes from, that's the shadow aspect of my name. Aiden represents the fire within me. Is fire. I also have earth and air within my essence. Within all of my planets, I have earth, air, fire, water, all pretty well across the board. Wolf is my totem. And the shadow is the of my shadow. Due to recognizing my shadow and recognizing my darkness, recognizing pain, and embracing that to empower myself, walking through the fire. And again, I come back to the fact that I don't really want to be on here calling out the karmics. But if I'm going to be constantly sabotaged, people that would rather not heal, you best believe I'm going to call you motherfuckers out. Because to hell if I'm going to allow this to happen to myself or to my tribe. And if these low life narcissists don't want to heal, then I'm going to rip their fucking masks off and I'm going to reveal them who they are for who they are. And if they don't like it, I really don't give two fucks about it. Because if they're going to sit around and try to sabotage me, I'm going to do the exact same fucking thing. Where they're trying to sabotage me by ridiculing me and throwing out a whole bunch of defamation on my character, I'm going to destroy them with the truth. And if they didn't want me talking shit about them, maybe they should have treated me better. Maybe they shouldn't have love bombed me and then made me feel worthless. Maybe weaponizing compassion. Maybe they should have made a moral decision to just leave me alone and not even engage. But they chose to engage. They chose to manipulate. They chose to make me feel worthless. To the point where a bunch of dead people had to show me the way. Did I choose this life? No. Had I known what I was getting into, I would have told them to get the fuck home and go home. Had I known what I was getting myself into, I probably would have just stayed in spirit. I wouldn't have come into this life. But now, in hindsight, after going through all of it, all the pain, all the abuse, and how I have overcome it, and because of what I've overcome and the lives that I've changed, the lives that I've empowered, the people that I've set free from the pain and the guilt, I still wouldn't wish this on my enemy. That's how compassionate I am. But the fact that I've overpowered it and the fact that I've overcome it, at this point, I wouldn't change. But I know I've been brought into this time and place to empower others to rise above it. And the only reason why I continue to do it is because that it gives me a chance. The fact that I've been brought into this time and place, that I've been brought in with this knowledge to bestow upon you this evening, knows, it gives me the know and the knowledge and the wisdom that we still have a chance as humanity to rise above this on an individual basis and as a collective. The fact that I've gone through what I've gone through, the fact that I rose above it, it gives me hope for the world. It gives me hope for you. And this is why the karmics will not win. Collective, I stand with you. Anton stands with you. Jen stands with you. My grandmother stands with you. And it ultimately comes down to your choice, collective. Whether or not you want to stand with me. Do you want to move to your demise? Or do you want to move to your rise? Because when you think that you're alone and there's no way out, and there's no more hope, please know the divine has many other plans for us than what we've been dealt. But we ultimately, individually, must make that choice. I can't make that choice for you. You have to make that choice for yourself as to whether or not you're going to rise above this or not. That's why I'm here. To help you remember who the hell you are. To give you hope. Not real hope. If I can go through what I've been through in my life, in my experience, and rise above it, please know that you... If it wasn't for this pain that I've been through, I wouldn't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And at least, if I could change one person's life and bring hope to their heart, my... So YouTube, every time you throttle my channel, I hope you understand what you're doing. And you should be ashamed of yourself for throttling my channel, for keeping my message out of the masses. And the more you throttle my channel and keep me from seeing and sharing my truth, the more I think you're just dark too. You're dark and sadistic and narcissistic like all the karmics. Just believe I'm thinking on moving out of here. You best believe I'm thinking on moving off of YouTube. But you have a chance to change your tune. You have a chance to allow me the platform in order to empower other people to rise above. But if you prevent me from doing that, you're literally giving me no other choice but to go somewhere else. But YouTube, just know that I will not go quietly. Please know that I will go very loudly. And that is not a threat, and that is a. Like I've said before, I walked out of companies and I've walked out of places that I worked at that I've put my heart and soul into. And because of the way that they've treated me, they didn't last too long after I left. I tend to have that effect. So the fact that I'm moving off of YouTube and going somewhere else should say something about your platform, YouTube. And you best check where you wreck yourself because I'm not on here doing sleazy shit. I'm not on here uh, with like a brainless idea. I'm on here trying to help the world and inspire the world. So if you're going to prevent me from doing that, that's your call. Collective, together we will rise. But we need to work together. And it starts with you. It starts with your inner temple, bringing peace to your inner world. And I ask of Spirit and the divine and angels and ancestors to blanket you with the courage to do just that. Together we will rise and bring the darkness to its demise. One. Do you understand what the new earth represents? It represents the magic coming back. Manifest with good intention. To have anything and everything that we've ever dreamed of materialize before our eyes. Just sit with that for a second, of what that might mean to you. It's the end of struggle. It's the end of the abuse. It's regaining peace of mind. It's regaining the compassion and love for not only yourself, but your neighbors. It's to create a new understanding that we very well can be all as one. We are ultimately the creator experiencing life in physical form. in many different aspects, in many different perspectives, in many different forms. We're a human, whether we're a dog or a wolf, whether we're a bird or a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. We all have the ability to change the world, but it starts with us. We need to communities and rebuild the trust. We have a real chance here to make these governments and these elites be absolutely insignificant, that they literally fall away on purpose. But that's only if we rise, and not in revolt, not in civil unrest, but in unconditional love and understanding. And this is why I'm here, to help you remember. My soul, it comes from the Orion. I've lived many lifetimes, many, many lifetimes, in many different forms. But I am honored to be in this human form, to be able to communicate with you today. After all this time of learning and evolution, to be in this space, to be in this time, to bring about a new earth. I do not want to die in vain without completing my mission. I can't do it without you. It's going to take absolutely every single one of us. The new earth is here. The new earth has been here since you were born. It is just sitting on a different time than what you're sitting on right now. And it's due to the pain and the suffering that you've had to endure up to this point that keeps you away from it. The moment you find the courage within yourself, alchemize the pain into power, is the moment everything changes. We do it on a gradual basis, and it will ultimately change our outer world. We are the change that we seek. We are that change. There's been said to be a great flash of light that is encased upon the planet. And I do believe we are that light. It is not something that comes in from a celestial means, because we are that celestial means. We are that awakening. But it's going to take you to remember and for that to happen. A long time ago, I had a conversation with my mother about the Great Flash because she had visions of the Great Flash happening, but she was petrified of it happening. It's one of the reasons why she did not embrace her gifts. And I know now. I know now why. I know why that it petrified her. Because she was so riddled with darkness that it would basically vaporize her. And that is what the narcs and the karmics are afraid of. They do not want to be vaporized. They are so riddled with fear and sadness and darkness that our light irritates them. So I ask of you, collective, if there's one thing that you can do for me, shine as bright as you can, and together we will bring the light back to the world. Together bring about that new earth. And together we will bring the magic back to Mother Gaia. Mother Gaia screaming for help for many years. I used to sit in sadness and tears because of it. Much so that I'd become numb to the sadness that she feels. Being an empath, you would know what I'm talking about. That is our one main mission, to bring about the magic and the healing of Mother Earth as an Earth warrior. It's time to rise. Time is of the essence. We cannot allow them to enslave us anymore. We must rise and make them insignificant. It is our duty. It is our mission as crystal children, as indigo children. As light workers, as shamans, as the chosen, as earth angels. It is our time. This is our time. They've had their time on Earth. Now it's our time. I don't know about you, collective, but I'm done with this extra fire. But I can't do this all on my own. I need your help. Kaiser, what are your thoughts of yourself if you were in her shoes? How do you feel about yourself? Confused about what? I didn't ask you about the connection you guys have. I was asking you about you. If you were her, what would your feelings be about yourself? When you look in the mirror, how do you feel? Do you feel complete as a person? Or do you feel empty? The cards are saying that you're feeling trapped in your head. You're trying to ground yourself, trying to feel stable within yourself. But you're not there yet. It also shows that you've been lying to yourself. It's showing also that you haven't really had a very good upbringing either. Do you feel like absolutely everything that you try to pertain to or try to put your mind to or put your energy into all turns to shit? Your life is a bit chaotic? You're very uninspired. And you mask the sadness and the pain you feel with substance. The uncertainty of feeling incomplete and confused is only the beginning to your enlightenment. But the thing is, if she was to come to you now and say, okay, Kyler, let's do this, what would you have to offer her? Other than the pain and the suffering and the sorrow that you feel within yourself. What do you really have to offer her? What could you honestly put on the table to provide other than the pain? And for someone that is confused and not too sure of themselves, how do you think that's going to pertain to your relationship? How do you think that's going to stress things out by not feeling complete? by not feeling that you can show up with anything substantial. That's all objects. That's nothing to that. It's nothing to do with you. That house, that bit of money, that safety can be gone in a second. But what can you ultimately offer her from yourself is the question. Kaiser, there's other emotions that you need to and to see from a different perspective before you could ever offer her anything. And I really have a feeling that she feels the same way. There's not much that she could offer you. And it's because both of you feel incomplete. Both of you feel less than. And by coming together and creating a relationship, you're really not able to offer each other anything. Ultimately, being distracted by outer means. Ultimately, focusing on objectives rather than standing for anything. You must first find completion within yourself. You must find worthiness and love within yourself and feel complete. To sit at that table and negotiate the love, the compassion, the support that you might want to give each other. But unless you see the worthiness within yourself of how you can show up, both of you would be lacking and both of you would be in reliance of each other. Despite how long we live, it is but a blink of an eye compared to our spirit and our soul, of what it endures. A blink of an eye in the equivalent. The big question is, if you were complete as a whole being instead of a half, you could offer so much more. But the question is, if you felt complete within yourself, would she still be the one for you? And if she felt complete within herself, with you only being a half, would you be the one for her? Or because you are both at a half, two halves making a whole. If you were to lose her, you would be a half again. I've known many people to be in love with someone and to fall in love with someone and then to have lost them and all the same time feeling worthless all over again. So the question is, what could you offer her that you don't offer yourself? You must first offer it to yourself before you can offer it to anyone else. Ultimately, you must first love yourself before you can love anyone else. You cannot bleed blood from a stone, my friend. And you cannot love someone without first loving yourself. Because you cannot love from an empty cup. So I think the confusion lies in whether or not both of you love each other or not you love yourself. We have the Page of Wands out here. The Emperor of Wands and the Eight of Cups. The Page of Wands is in reverse, and it speaks of uninspired action, inability to see the your valued intention. The Empress speaks on creation. It speaks on birth. It speaks on inspiration. It speaks on new beginning. The King of Wands speaks on intention and intuition and standing on your intention. Allow intuition to guide you. The Eight of Cups is walking away from that what no longer serves you. The emotional pain you feel within yourself from past experiences needs to be healed first. You need to rise above it before you can move forward. The Eight of Cups also speaks on walking away from that what no longer serves you to brighter horizons, and the courage to do so, leaving behind that what no longer serves you. We have the Ace of Swords, the Ten of Cups, and the Eight of Wands all in reverse as the second level. And by being uninspired about new creation and lying to yourself, saying that you're complete when you're not, gets you nowhere fast. It's a lot of spinning wheels. The Ten of Cups in the reverse represents your hereditary family, of how you've been brought up into the world. It also represents the chaos within that family unit, quite possibly from abuse, that you're into this next connection. The Eight of Wands is speaking of stagnance. It's speaking of no inspiration. It's speaking on pointless interaction. The next level is the Eight of Swords and the King of Pentacles. And what this speaks on is being trapped in your head about ideals and intentions and wanting to be grounded, wanting to be prosperous, and wanting to provide. However, the Cap card being the devil first, you are first needing to allow yourself to heal and remove yourself from the darkness that is within you in order to be complete, in order to be a whole being. So ultimately, you must heal yourself and become a version of yourself that she would want to be with before ever taking on the situation where you are burdening her from your sadness and from the pain that you carry. Because if you truly love her, you would not do that to someone you love, to get her to carry your burden. You would first want to heal that burden and eradicate it from your being before you ever showed up. True love and true compassion has an innocence, has a positive intention towards it. It does not hold sadness. It does not hold grief. It holds unconditional love. But when the time comes, the question is, will she be right for you? And will you be the right one for her? That remains to be seen. To be friends is one thing, but to honor her as your other half is a totally different ballgame. And in order to respect and honor her, I would hope that you would show up in a way that is beneficial to both of you. I hope that helped. I'm not to say that it's not possible. But if you value yourself enough, you will heal first. And you will give her to heal as well. To show up as a full being for you as well. The thing is that when you finally heal yourself, you may be at a different frequency. Your standards might change. And you may just find out that as you heal yourself and as you rise into the fullest version of yourself, you may find yourself realizing that you've dodged a bullet. Because I have a feeling she does not want to heal. And she will no longer meet your standard once you raise them. you may discover that you deserve so much more than what she could provide you. And Spirit's saying that you already feel that way. And it's almost as if the worth is making you sell for less than what you actually deserve. Because after the abuse and the chaos that you had happen in your life, you deserve so much more than what you've received. But a part of you is given up. And this is where the Ace of Swords comes out, about you lying to yourself and settling for less than you deserve, which is a total injustice to your spirit. It's a total blasphemy for what you want to create for your life. And I do believe she may only hold you back. From you living your fullest potential. You need to call your power back. Create standards and draw the line in the sand. And recognize how truly capable and talented you really are. And to step into that. And Spirit's saying the rest will follow. Aw, thank you, Roxanne. By the way, collective, I have reached my goal for paying off my storage. So my storage has been, we're good there. Now I'm working on my phone. I'm also working on getting some food in here. So if my message in my live tonight has inspired you in any way, and you'd like to support the channel, PayPal would be beautiful. Otherwise, for a donation, otherwise a super chat with a question or a super sticker for a general message donation would work to help me reach my goal. I do prefer as a donation, but if you'd like to order your own personal reading, you can do so through that means of a super chat or a super sticker, or you can order your own reading over at Hipsy. Thank you, Roxanne. Spirit, what's the best, Roxanne? It's showing here that you're deserving a better, and you're saying no to a particular relationship and you're standing on your truth. You're no longer having to nurture your truth. You're standing on business. You're stepping into your masculine energy. You may have a chance of snapping out sometime soon if they're not careful. So act accordingly. Sometimes we get glad to get glad. And sometimes that requires us to keep our cards close to our chest and only pour into that that is reciprocated. Thank you, Kitty. There's definitely something here about somebody trying to manipulate you, Roxanne. But I think it's above it. With good intention, it is okay to leave people in the dark. It is okay to not tell them everything. It is okay to be in a position where you keep your cards close to your chest. Thank you, James. I do see you dealing with quite the toxic energy. It's trying to create a lot of conflict and a diminishing to this new beginning. Be very vigilant, Roxanne. Be very strategic as to how you move forward. Because I do see somebody trying to get you to act out of character and a situation of reactive abuse to where you look crazy for flying off the handle. So if you feel that you're wanting to react out of anger, simmer. Turn down the stove and let it simmer. Recognize that this is exactly what's going on and do in that. Because by engaging in that will create an instability for your foundation. There's a very, very toxic energy watching absolutely every move that you make. Tested by the darkness at this time. But please understand that the conflict that they are trying to test you with is only an illusion. It is to keep you from understanding your true power within you. In one essence, you are needing to embrace your shadow, but to transmute it. It's not embracing it to allow it to run free. It's to keep it in check in order to continue to keep your stability. Our darkness is there to betray you. And you must rely on your inner light to guide you through this. Because there will be conflict. But you are also being tested by the divine as to how you react to that. If you pass these tests, you will prevail. Otherwise, you will find yourself in a predicament that you will be more challenged to remove yourself. I feel now is the time that you need to get your emotions in check and remove them from the equation in order to save your sanity. Please understand that what you've been dealing with was brought about due to a worthless, a feeling of being less than, that is no longer serving you as you've transmuted this, and in you are in the beginnings of an awakening. So it is very crucial and very paramount that you hold true to your essence of who you are and your overall intention, knowing your standards, knowing where you draw the line in the sand. And to move forward with these new found standards and boundaries. When to thwart them, do not allow anyone to tell you otherwise. For these boundaries came through experience, through gaining wisdom, and evolving from that wisdom. Do not question these standards. Do not settle for less than these standards. Rise above them, evolve, learn. And the best is yet. Because you stay grounded and footed with these standards, there will be conflict. Because you are moving into a time where you are no longer being manipulated. You are moving through into a time of independence. And because they're trying to drag you down back into the darkness, when you've done all this work to rise above it. So stay true to yourself and rise above it. I hope this helped. Spirit, is there a message for James? James, you're a lot more talented than you give yourself credit for. Yet, you wonder why you don't ever get the upper hand. I'm also getting a feeling of codependency with this Three of Cups in the reverse. The people that you thought were there, that were riding with you, that were rocking with you, really aren't rocking with you. They left you with they left you with unfinished business and no closure. It's almost as if, you're as talented as you are and somebody's taking on the credit for their own. It's like somebody's coming in and plagiarizing your work. Whoever you're working with, whoever you're connected to, you really need to question their interior motive or ulterior motive, recognizing all the unfinished business. It's one thing to wanting to start a project and having people a part of that project. It's another thing to have people part of that project, yet they're not helping you with the project. It's kind of like sitting there looking pretty. It's like you ask a bunch of people over to help you pack and move, and all they do is sit there drinking your booze. It's either that or you order a couple pizza before you start the moving. They're there for the pizza, but halfway through they end up picking up and leaving. Know who you're working with and stay in alignment with that. And cut out the people that are choosing to ride your coattails, gaining the recognition and the clout off of what you're working on. You pour into other people, yet they breadcrumb you in reciprocity. That's not fair. It's time to raise your standards. Focus on the future. I hope that helped. Welcome in, Karen. Welcome in, Renee. Welcome in, Maureen. Welcome in, Clownfish. Roxanne, James. JT, Ash, Kaiser, Brooke, Kitty. You're next, by the way. Honey, welcome in. SP, Stephanie, Catherine, C, Shiva, welcome in, my friend. Welcome in, X. James, the property would go to whoever it would be in the will. Whoever he gave the property to. If he was the owner of that, it would ultimately go to the one that was left to it in the will. Oh. Your family said he didn't have a will? I have a feeling they're lying. Is this the same family that has ownership of this land? Yeah, no, the fact that they're outright saying that he doesn't have a will, yet he owns land, I highly doubt that. If somebody owns land, they're damn right gonna have somebody will. Well, yeah. You may have to get a court order to see that information. You very well could go to the city. They probably don't want to give it up, that's why. The fact that they would be caught in a lie. That's the thing. If people would just tell the truth. Like, you're not alone in this. There's a lot of people thieving and a lot of shit. There's a lot of selfishness and entitlement. But you ultimately, if it's a big trend, you ultimately can go and see. I think there's something to do with the city where you can look into it. If you know your father's lawyer, if your father had a lawyer, if you know who the lawyer is, you can always go and speak to the lawyer. He'll probably know because he's probably the one that did all the paperwork up. Well, she needs to prove it to you. She should prove it to you. Prove her honest. She's lying. And I'm sorry, but if she's going to sit there and get mad, then clearly she's hiding something. That's just psychology 101. And if she is hiding something, she should be ashamed of herself. Yes, Michael, that was my next spot. Yeah, if she wasn't hiding anything, she would show paperwork. Yeah, this is coinciding to the reading I just gave you. Ultimately, the main message is somebody is trying to live off of your clout. And you deserve to be respected. As your father's son, you have every right to see the will if there is one. And in order to have a will, preferably notarized by a lawyer, because usually the lawyer is what would deal with that will. And the lawyers will know whether or not it's going into probate or not, which she's probably joined. I have a feeling she's not going to get the upper hand in all this. She thinks she is, but she's basically digging herself a hole. real quick. Not as good as the harmonica. I'm still learning the pan flute. Yeah, you sound like me, James. Now that I got rid of all the trolls, Welcome in, Tanya. Doing all right. I'm doing all right. I have a feeling, James, you're gonna fare out pretty well with this. And I have a feeling are you gonna fare out quite well with this. Everything that they came at you with to remove you from all this, there is some sort of restitution with that, I think. So these people better tread lightly. I'll say that much at least. Yeah, I have a really good feeling about this, James. I wouldn't fret too much. I would just say get on it though. My question is, did they get you to sign anything since your father, since he's passed away? Did they come to you to get you to sign anything? Doesn't matter what it is. Because I have a feeling if they needed your signature, they could have forged it. Yeah, but wouldn't they have switches hands too? And they would have to prove the stipulation behind the switching. There would have to be a will of some sort to switch it over. Otherwise, I think it would have to be as a purchase. But different places have different rules. But I get a good feeling about this. Kitty, are you still? After a year separated, they're probably hoovering. If they had somebody else in their life during that year, just broke up and now they're wanting more supply. So they'll usually hoover back and try to gain control again. If they didn't leave a voicemail, I would just ignore it. Well, anyway, collective, I think I'm going to end the live tonight. Just simply because I'm tired. I was up at 5:30 this morning, so I'm back on my day schedule. I'll be back here tonight earlier, maybe during the day. I might do another live during the day. I want to say thank you to my supporters and my tribe. I love you dearly. We will rise one moment at a time. Thank you for joining me tonight. I wish you all the luck, James. Stay strong. Oh, Kitty, you are back. Did you want a couple cards for the $2? Oh, I asked you, are you still here? And you didn't say nothing. I'll hook you up. Spirit, what's going on with you? You need to know right now. All right, kitty, stop the self-hate. Okay? You're thinking you're not getting the upper hand because you're tired. You're running yourself ragged. You need to stay consistent. It's about prioritizing your time in a way that's going to benefit you. And it's a feeling of losing hope and not getting the upper hand. But you need to stand on business. We're doing this. You're doing this for freedom. You're doing this for independence. Everything you're dealing with right now and you're going through right now, it's worth it. So stand on business. Hope. Don't lose your focus. Don't lose your integrity. You're feeling a little burnt out. Okay? Take the night to just re-fucking-lax. Okay? The feeling of entrapment is an illusion. The wheel of fortune in the reverse and upside down is an illusion. You're working towards something. It's not going to happen overnight. Stay focused, stick up for yourself, and look towards the future without the third-party distractions. If it's not your drama, it's not your fucking problem. Stay out of it. Pick your battles wisely. Okay? As much as you like to help everybody and their brother, help yourself first. You can't pour from an empty cup, my dear. Okay? Everybody, I'm gonna go lay down. I'll be back tomorrow for another awesome live. Let's see who's gonna be added to the ballot. I'm gonna do that before I leave. Kaiser, are you still here? James. Loring. Roxanne, you've got a back. You get another one. Well, it helps when you're here, right? You figure shit out. Okay, Renee. Maureen. So I'm doing a ballot system. So at the end of the week, I haven't figured it out whether it's a week or every 2 weeks. I'm gonna see how many ballots I get. But the top three get a ballot, as well as anyone that has donated to my channel. Whether they donated, whether they got a reading, um, like a question or whatever through a Snapchat, or not a Snapchat, but a super chat or a super sticker or whatever. Name gets put in a ballot for a full reading. I don't know if it's going to be per month or every 2 weeks, depending on how many ballots I get. But you got to be in the top three or donate to the channel in order to get that. And it doesn't matter what nation you bring on, it's just any support gets you a ballot. So James, you're now on the roster. I will definitely be posting a post as to when that raffle's going to be at some point. I will make it then. Yeah, and we'll go from there. And Maureen, you got one from the last, and so did Renee. You both got from the last live. I'm counting you guys in from that live too. All right, so Renee, you got 2 ballots. I got Roxanne for 2. There's Courtney Lee, Mustang Annie, Michael, JT, Shiva, Lilith, Rebecca, Kitty, James, Roxanne, and M. So, love y'all. Please be good to yourself if you can't be good at it. So that way you can be good to others. And I will catch you in the next one. Thank you again for showing up. Love you lots. Have yourselves a good evening.